Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our short time together today as we discuss the concepts of homeland security and protecting our homeland. My name is Brady McLaughlin. I'm very excited to have the privilege of discussing these concepts with you. I always like to start with some perspective. We sleep safe in our beds because rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm. That's from George Orwell, and does that not really encapsulate the essence of Homeland Security today? I think it's important that we reflect on the simplicity of what we're trying to accomplish here. Just a couple of 30,000 foot overview points here for you of what Homeland Security is. If you think about the history of our nation, we were under the control of a king, and then we became independent. We must maintain our independence through sovereignty, securing our borders and protecting us from threats both internally and internationally. That's accomplished best by securing our homeland via Homeland Security. In a nutshell, Homeland Security is comprised of about 250,000 employees, the department that is, with a nearly $61 billion budget focused on emergency response, criminal threat analysis, terrorist threat analysis, border security, and many other facets that help ensure the security of our homeland. Of course, counterterrorism is at the top of the list. Back in the 90s, we had a very limited view of what today we know as Homeland Security. In fact, at one point in the 90s, about $5 million was allocated to help fire departments better respond to attacks. Now, today, fire departments certainly don't comprise the majority of Homeland Security, and in fact, play an integral but smaller role in our preparedness efforts. The United States Department of Homeland Security was founded in 2002 via the Homeland Security Act under President Bush in response to the tragic and historic terrorist attacks of September 11th. Here on the right is our official logo bearing the seal of the Homeland Security Department. The President of the United States has the privilege of appointing the Secretary of Homeland Security. The Secretary, of course, has the responsibility to oversee the entire operations of the department. He uses many other designees and leaders to help him manage such a large department. President Bush appointed the first, Thomas Ridge, and the second, Michael Chertoff. Following Chertoff, Janet Napolitano took the reign, and currently today we have Jay Johnson pictured to the right, who is appointed by President Barack Obama. Interestingly enough, President Obama was able to visit Lawson State earlier this year, and we are very thankful for that. Now, state governors have the opportunity to appoint secretaries of Homeland Security. These are cabinet positions. In Alabama, Governor Robert Bentley appointed Secretary Spencer Collier to oversee the department. Other states have other unique opportunities for that. Here's a quick flow chart of the various positions in the Department of Homeland Security. It's important to note that here along the bottom we have our mainly recognizable agencies, starting with with the Border Protection folks and ending with TSA. It's important to see that they all flow into the Department of Homeland Security and ultimately report to the Secretary. The Secretary also has many administrative staff to help ensure the continuity of operations in his absence and to help him make good decisions. This chart encapsulates the entirety of the United States Department of Homeland Security. When we think about vulnerabilities as a nation and the areas that are susceptible to a terrorist attack, I personally think about the openness of our ports. The Port of Mobile, many may not know, is on the top 15 terrorist targets in the United States. There's so many imports and exports occurring on a daily basis that if a terrorist was intent, he could cause an amazing amount of havoc and destruction in the port, which would have a ripple effect on the region's economy. So ports are a very fragile and delicate place. To help harden these targets from terrorists, Homeland Security created the pilot program, which uses smaller vessels to help secure larger ones as they enter and exit the ports. This is a $45 million measure that was implemented in 2010. This falls under the Customs and Border Patrol. The Customs and Border Patrol has a workforce of almost 60,000 employees, which include officers, special agents, pilots, and canine enforcement officers that focus on drug interdiction. It's amazing how many ships, how many vessels, and the volume of people and cargo that kind of come across our ports and places of entry. And so it's so important that we secure those from chemical, biological, and agro-terrorism attacks. One of the more interesting pieces maintained by the Department of Homeland Security is actually some of the technology that they use. Here's one of my favorite. This is the unmanned aerial aircraft or unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, or simply a drone that provides aerial security and footage to help officers better patrol rural areas that are hard to access by vehicle or on foot. This kind of expands the enforcement capabilities of the Customs and Border Patrol. Hand in hand with Customs and Border Patrol is the Criminal Enforcement and Civil Enforcement Wing called the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or simply ICE. Birmingham is home to one of the regional ICE offices not far from Lawson State, and I included a few videos here for your perusal to help you better understand some of the career paths within ICE. They enforce everything from counterterrorism to trademark violations. To help ICE accomplish its mission, it has strategically stationed over 400 field offices in the U.S. and nearly 50 abroad to help with forward intelligence gathering, communication, and interdiction responsibilities. Its main goal is to promote Homeland Security through enforcement. One of my favorites is the United States Coast Guard, with a mission of protecting our coastlines, providing rescues, and doing drug interdiction. They're considered part of the military, part of the law enforcement, but they really are under the Department of Homeland Security for obvious reasons. The United States Secret Service, as we all know, is focused on protecting the office of the President, the Vice President, and other foreign heads of state. My personal goal was to become a special agent in the Secret Service, but I felt led to move into education and more local law enforcement for family reasons. The United States Secret Service was actually founded for combating financial crimes, and they still do that today. One of the main reasons, though, that they became under the Department of Homeland Security was their role in providing security and coordinating security for large national events such as the Super Bowl, Olympic Games here in the United States, and other large events. Of course, one of the most visible arms of the Department of Homeland Security is the Transportation Security Administration, which used to fall under the Department of Transportation as indicated in this logo. The TSA is responsible for screening nearly 2 million people a day and ensuring the security of our mass transit systems such as airlines, railways, and other ports. If you think about it into perspective, the Birmingham metro area has a population of about 1.2 million people. That number, coupled with another 800,000, is the average screening volume of the TSA each day. So in a nutshell, the Department of Homeland Security is aimed at eradicating and disrupting acts of terrorism in the United States and abroad with our foreign interests. Whether that's destroying the motivations of Al-Qaeda, intercepting them before they attack, eliminating threats from ISIS, Al-Shabaab, or other extremist groups, that is their main focus. And they work hand in glove with the United States military to ensure that these needs are met across the globe, aimed at preventing another attack from occurring. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I will be reachable by email or phone after this lecture. Again, thank you for your time. I hope this brought some insight to you as to the responsibilities of the United States Department of Homeland Security. Thank you.